We're looking at the test run of my Guillemot design cedar strip sea kayak. These are the initial building forms of my Guillemot, and I'm glad to tell you that they're going to be long gone before the finish of this kayak. And that's all 19 of them. But for right now, they're necessary for attaching the cedar strips to. It was neat to see it slowly take shape. Each strip is glued to the next one and temporarily secured by staples to the form. Each evening I would spend a few hours attaching these strips and letting them dry overnight. And before I knew it, they were all in place. But the kayak was far from finished. And after a lot of sanding, the kayak was ready to be sealed with fiberglass resin. Then several layers of fiberglass cloth were applied. And then, after a few cuts, the cockpit was born. And you can see the next step would be the methodical process of making a coaming around the cockpit. The coaming is what holds the spray skirt in place. And voila, that's the way a hatch is done. Hey, it looks like it's time to get it wet. So we're off. My mom just had to be there for the maiden voyage. It won't be long now. My cousin Jack here is seeing that I don't capsize on my first entrance. He's also the one that introduced me to this kayak making project. Whoa. This is feeling good. Does it look like I know what I'm doing? Well, I don't. But it makes the last 2 months all worth it. Well, I guess the next stop now is open water. This looks like a good open place. I'm launching out of Cayucas, California. And yes, all that camping gear did get on board. These birds are really interesting to watch. And there must have been something real tasty in that water for them to frenzy like that. The kayak floated through that kelp bed real nicely. Definitely a lot of interesting sights along the way here. But before you know it, it's time for lunch. I found this sweet little spot. With Mono Rock in the background. Well, I'm getting ready to paddle further up the coast. Getting a little bit further away from civilization the further I go. Bye-bye, Mono Rock. It's actually getting a little bit later in the day, and I gotta start thinking about a campsite. And before you know it, I'm finding the perfect one. Nice little beach. I'm going to call the wife and let her know I survived the first day. Whew, that's an egret out there. You must be looking for dinner. Well, the next morning, I get up and there's hardly a ripple in the pond. Looking pretty nice. Takes a little while to pull the gear here, get dressed. Important to have wear the proper gear, just in case. And then it's off and paddling. A little nippy in the morning there. And it's a little shallow, so it takes a little bit of work to get through the shallows. But it's going to happen, sure enough. And as I paddle up the coast, there's beauty just wherever I look. And then I come across this abandoned structure that tends to be falling down, and I just made a decision to call this place home. I'm camping on a nice cement slab right off the beach. It doesn't get much better than that. And there's camp down there. And the kayaks well off the beach. And there's artifacts around, along with flowers. All shapes and sizes. And there's all kind of color in those guys too. Just doesn't get much better than that. It's interesting how this structure seems to be out on this landscape all by itself. But doesn't look like I'm alone. There's this little critter, and he's out frolicking in the surf, looking hard at filling its belly, and he's keeping me company, and that's a good thing. And the pelicans are alive and well. And this guy found something and he's off again. And it all ends happily ever after.